This is my Aunt Selma and Uncle Bill Weigand. Willie was born on September 27th, 1899 in Iowa. He was the second child born to Catherine and George Weigand. Selma Christensen was born on September 2nd, 1905. They were married on June 10th, 1931 at the Christensen home, and they celebrated their 50th anniversary in 1981. Willie and Selma have two children. David William was born on January 12th, 1937. And Catherine Ann was born on March 14th, 1940. Bill or Willie or Selma, would you like to tell me how the two of you met?
Well, we met over at about a mile up, half a mile up the road at Walter's aunt's when they lived there. Willie would go over and help them pick corn in the fall, and I was staying there when teaching school, and then I boarded over at Walter and Margie's, and that way we became acquainted.
What were you doing at the time you met Willie?
Well, I was teaching in District 28.
Now that's a school that was just north of this place.
Yes.
Whatever happened to that school? David, I think you told me about that one day.
Yes, they moved it down to Kensington and made a house out of it.
So somebody is living in that?
Somebody's living in it now.
Okay.
It's a home.
Okay, Selma and Bill, you've been married for 57 years. That's a long time. Do you have any advice for a happy married life?
Well, you have to give first.
Lots of give and take, I imagine.
Wasn't all at once, lots of hard work to it, that's one thing for sure.
Well, it's a lot of give and take, isn't it? Yes. Willie, you've lived on this farm since you were married, is that right?
Yeah.
And what kind of farming have you done through the years?
There's a lot of weeds.
Lots of weeds. And I guess you raised, what, wheat and grain and corn? And I think I remember you had a lot of cattle on your farm.
Well, we had some, not a lot, not as many as
How many?
people have.
How many cows did you milk when you were milking?
About 10.
I seem to remember that you used to farm a lot with horses.
Yeah,
And do you remember when you first bought your tractor?
yes,
And do you have any idea? Do you remember what you paid for your tractor?
$1,000.
$1,000. I see you have a farmall sitting out here on the farm right now. Is that what you've always used?
Well, not always, we just had that now the last 5 or 6 years.
I remember the thrashing days we used to have, and I'm sure you remember them, and David remembers them. It's a lot of hard work. To me, it was a lot of fun memories also. What happened to that old thrashing machine that you used to use when you and your brothers would harvest together? Do you remember where that went?
We went down to Elba someplace.
Southeast of Elba Lake.
You know, in
Yeah,
restaurant, who was it, restaurant?
Wayne Schneeberger.
Sneakers, yeah.
Well, do they have it on their farm as a, they don't use it, or just a,
Well, they just kept it,
just for a,
but it's still in good shape yet, I understand.
It wasn't running order when they took it away from here.
Selma, I know that living on a farm was a very busy life for everyone. What was a day like for you?
Oh, you get up early in the morning. First was the milking. I helped what little I could until after David was born. Then had chickens, raised the chicks. And in the fall, sold the old hens, and we had new pullets, to put in their place. And we sold eggs during the year. And the fall sold the butchering stock.
And you've had a garden through the years
Yes,
too?
I have garden every year.
So you've done a lot.
It just grows smaller year by year.
Well, I guess that's natural. What did you do as a family for entertainment when David and Catherine were growing up?
Oh, we sometimes go to the county fair in the fall. Sometimes we go to the circus. And anything going on, any parades, we take the children there. And then at home here, David was a great one to entertain himself. He built his own machinery, and every time he'd take all the old material he could just to put something together to make it work. And then you'll have to have David tell you about how they cleared out the woods and built a railroad track. It was supposed to be the stew line from Enderlin or wherever it began until it came to Glenwood.
Well, let's have David tell us about that right now then. This is something you did for your entertainment, is that right?
Well, we kind of played, used it for play toys. We made train cars out of wood, and then different trees out in the woods. We put a sign on for Wendell and Elbow Lake and Barrett.
It's very creative.
So it was our railroad was just a path through the woods, is all it really was.
Bill, you must not have too many trees between your outside trees and your outside trees, because I understand Catherine also had a playhouse out in the trees. Is that right? I understand it was really quite a playhouse. And Selma, I know you are a very avid reader. And what other kinds of things do you enjoy doing? Do you like to do handwork or?
Oh, some. I like that.
Hook rug?
Not hook rugs, but
Needlepoint?
handwork, and I just love to do that, but
Mhm.
not too close work, crocheting and things I don't like to do.
What kinds of books do you like to read the most?
Oh, I like all kinds of history, any adventure, especially pioneer stories, and stories of other lands. And always like to read about people, interested in what they were doing and all about them.
Bill, are you still actively farming with David now? You're out plowing and all these kinds of things, right?
Oh, I go out once in a while, not every day though.
Well, I think that's really good, because tell us how old you're going to be in September.
9.
That's really good, and you can still enjoy your farming. I think that's great. What do you like to do for relaxation?
Just sit here.
Sit and you have some favorite TV programs, I'm sure, and
Oh, yeah, we watch them sometimes. There isn't much for programs on there.
well, some nights there really aren't. Willie and Selma, you have belonged to Trinity Lutheran Church in Wendell. Have you belonged there since you were married?
No, about 62 or so we joined. Well, I was born and raised in the church up there. I was baptized
Where did you go to church before that?
At Trinity. Well, it was the Stony Brook congregation then. And about 1920, the United Lutheran and the Stony Brook Lutheran joined. And they didn't get along too well. They just weren't ready for union at that time. So there were many problems we had to iron out. And then, as it was, they didn't get along too well, so about 75 members formed another congregation. So my folks were with them, so of course I was one with them, and we were in the faith congregation for 30 years until we were the last ones. The rest had died or moved away, so then we rejoined them at the church.
Faith Lutheran, was that the little church in Wendell?
Yes.
Okay, I remember that church. Kind of like it is nowadays. They, with the merger and so forth, it's
Yes.
they weren't all getting along, I guess.
Yes, they were the conservative and the liberals, you know, there are always problems.
Yeah. Well, I know your faith has meant a lot to you, and would you like to share that with me today?
Well, I was born and raised in the Lutheran faith, and that is the faith that I hope to live by as long as I live. And by grace we are here today, and by God's grace we'll face each tomorrow.
Thank you. Something else I would like to have you tell me about is my grandparents. Now, Grandpa, I remember quite well, but Grandma died before I was 10 years old, I believe. Willie, when you were a young boy, your mother died. Do you remember something about Catherine? Can you tell me about Catherine? I know nothing about her.
Not very much, because I wasn't,
You were a young boy too,
I
weren't
was
you?
only 5 years old when she died.
Now you said you were born in Iowa. When did you move to Minnesota then?
The next spring.
Okay. So then George was born up here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
They moved up here in 1900.
And they moved on the farm that August and Evelyn are, right? Okay, Willie, can you tell me about Grandpa George? What was he like? Your dad.
Just hard worker.
Hard worker. Well, they must have been extraordinary people, both of them. I just think they left some great values for all of us to live by, and raised such a nice family, and you've all stayed very close, and I think that's really great. Do you recall any of the fun things you used to do as young boys with all your brothers and sisters? You must have had some really good times, maybe played a prank on each other once in a while, or do you have any memories back then? Well, is there anything else you and Selma or David would like to share with me? Some of the things you remember back a few years? I know we've done lots of celebrating of birthdays in the families, and the Christmas celebrations have been really fun. I remember going up to up to Grandpa Weigand's and Christmas Day. And
You remember the 4th of July when we had a family gathering over at August and Evelyn, and we had a parade. It had rained the night before, but we had a parade over there, and each family was to make a float or have something in the parade. We began by the house and walked all around around the grove and around the highway and the other driveway again, so we thought we had quite a parade.
well, there were plenty of us to make a parade, and I guess I remember on the 4th of July, Mr. Anderson over here used to have fireworks displays.
Yes.
And they were really that was a nice display. You have been a very important part in my life, and so have you, David and Catherine. And I have many special memories of you. And Selma, I don't think you've ever missed sending me a birthday card, and I have really appreciated that. And you not only send a card, you always add a little note to it. And I just want to thank you for all the memories that we share and taking time to share them with me today.